2, 1. And I think we're live right now. I bet you we're live. When we go back and watch this, my countdown probably started at 2-1. That's my sense.
Okay.
We'll just keep refreshing.
Right. I keep refreshing. I don't have it yet. Oh, now I do. All right, let's rock and roll.
See? We'll wait and see how that countdown went there. Dr. Bauer, it is September 2024. We've just had our school board meeting on Thursday night. It's Monday morning, so it's time for
Superintendent Live.
Superintendent Live. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay, Bob. How are you?
Good. Busy. That's what happens in September when all these kids come back.
You've also, I'm going to give you a shout out, my friend. And you get a lot of love on Facebook. People love them some Bob Gilmer. But I will say, for those who aren't in the know, the start of the school year is crazy for Bob and his team, of course, because on top of everything else, and talking about Friday night games and telecasting and all those things that you do and all the technology that is in classrooms, it is the communications department and the technology department that are involved and all that stuff. We had Mr. Berger, who is now the athletic director at North Penn High School. He used to teach a couple classes a day in television and communications. And it just so happens that Mr. Gilmer is the most qualified person to teach about television production with Mr. Berger moving over. So you are moonlighting, or we'll call it morning lighting.
More morning lighting, yeah.
Yeah, first thing, you're running across the hall to teach classes too. You do everything, Bob.
Sunrising. I'm sunrising here for the first couple weeks.
Yeah. So thank you. And I said to you, when you and I were meeting last week, Bob, you don't need to do that. And you're like, yeah, but who else?
No, we want to make sure the kids have a good experience, and we have a really good transition to our television teacher that will be coming in. So it's great to talk to the kids. There's just a lot of things going on at the same time. So being really good at teaching and really good at all the other stuff, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So I appreciate it.
Well, I hope you get some relief soon. So
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So everybody's busy. As I said, it's crazy September.
Sure.
We've talked about before, it's no angry September because everything's crazy. So there's no reason to be surprised by something. How's everything else going? The start of the school year for all of our schools across the system. Let's roll all the way back, because the last time we talked was on the eve of school, and I don't believe we had convocation yet.
We had not had convocation yet.
Let's talk about that. That was we had a couple special moments there at convocation this year, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we were really excited to have everyone there.
Mm-hmm.
So we really made a point last year, because we have many employee groups across the organization, nearly 2,000 employees. And last year we made a point, it'd be really nice if everyone came to convocation. So we put the date out about 6 months in advance, tried to get all supervisors to arrange their work calendars so everybody would be there. And in case you're wondering, this is a North Penn trivia question. There are 1,717 seats in the North Penn High School auditorium. So 1717. And to pack 2,000 people in there is a challenge. Granted, not everyone's going to be there on the first day, right? Things happen, people are out, whatever it is. But we had, I'll bet you, 1,900 people there. So we had to put chairs in the pit, just like if there was a performance.
Like the chorus in the pit. Yep. That kind of thing.
Some spots up on stage. Some people were backstage. Like, we had a lot going on. But it was great to have everyone in the room and to really see the full magnitude of the staff. But then we incorporated, we had some students involved. They gave the opening and closing remarks. They were incredible. We honored those two students at this board meeting that you and I are about to talk about. We also honored 5 or 6 of our incredible staff members under the new North Penn Ease Awards. They used to be the Superintendent's Honor Roll. That's been going on in North Penn for a long time. And I decided that I thought it was most appropriate to change the name. It's not the Superintendent's Honor Roll. It's really, folks are nominated by their peers and their colleagues. And we have a committee that selected the winners. So just some wonderful people who do wonderful things for the students, staff, and community. And you have been honoring them with Facebook posts lately, Bob, and people have been chiming in. I'll use like Bernie at the high school as an example, or Ms. Jeremiah. and people would talk about their experiences with these wonderful individuals. So that was great. And then we also had a little bit of fun. We had a game show that was roughly 30 minutes or so, just some staff members answering trivia, doing some silly little dances just to get people laughing and lighthearted to start the year. So all in all, look at that. Look at that shot. So this is from up there in the balcony.
Yep.
Roughly 2,000 people, just really jam-packed. So it was a great experience, Bob. We did talk about it in the last Superintendent Live. Thanks for all your hard work and the work of your team in the communications department.
Yeah, it's great. And then we had the start of the school year, getting all of our 13,000 kids in. I think we're finishing up back to school nights this week.
Yes.
Most of them finishing those up. So most parents have been to a back to school night or are about to be at one. And, once we get past back to school night, we're fully in it.
Yeah, so we're in
parents,
it. The first September that I can recall, there are no days off of school either.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
Right. No days off, no holidays falling in September. There are some days off of school at the beginning of October due to some religious holidays. And then, of course,
I would say technically we did have one. It was Labor Day. We started school, then we had Labor Day. So
what day was Labor Day?
It was like the 5th. What was it at? 2nd? September 2nd.
Okay.
So we did have.
So we had September 2nd off. That's Labor Day.
Yeah, there you
go. Anyway, it's we have quite a string of consecutive days here. Really way to get into it. But things are going well. There's definitely been an uptick, Bob, of safe to say tips, which is our anonymous tip line. I actually sent a message out this morning that there was this post that originated in Nebraska, and all of a sudden someone reshares it in the North Penn School District, and people think it's directed at North Penn. It's a tough world we're living in, but I really do appreciate the fact that students and parents are so active on safe to say. I read every single one of those tips. Like, stop what you're doing and take a look because you never know. Right. Yeah. So they go to a number.
That point of where, we might get a little numb that we know that there's like this meme that's been going around, but still report if you see it, report it, because we'll investigate it. We'll check it out. And I think that's what's so important, that sometimes, because like this month, and you've heard the stories all over the country about, the false reports and different pieces going around, report it anyway. If you see it and you see a student or somebody else, or you're like, hey, wait a second, we'll investigate it. We'll figure it out. Right. Yeah,
absolutely. So they are routed. There's kind of like a decision tree, if you will, where Mr. Rohn gets all of them. I get all of them. Dr. Waters gets all of them. And then if it's secondary, it goes to Dr. Nicholson. If it's elementary, it goes to Dr. McKenna. And then it goes to the building admin too. So if you select Walton Farm and this is going on, I heard that, Mr. Minna sees that, right? In addition to myself, Dr. Waters, and so forth. Sometimes there are little trivial little things that someone submits, and I'll read it and be like, okay, the school will take care of that. I do get like the disposition at the end, or whatever you want to call it. But in general, they're very serious things. They are someone saying, hey, I heard this, so-and-so said that they might harm themselves, or I heard a rumor that, and we explore every single one, including sending police to homes in the middle of the night to check on people, welfare checks, those types of things. So anyway, if you asked, your question was, how are things going? That is a sign of people are plugged in, people care, Good. And they are reporting things. So I don't know if there's an uptick in certain types of behavior, there's an uptick in just reporting and awareness, or it's both. Either way, every single one of them is investigated and followed through on. So that's a good thing. Overall, I'm hearing great things about the cell phone changes at the secondary level. Yeah. We talked about that a bit.
And being in the classroom myself for a couple periods here.
Oh, right. You're a teacher now. I forgot.
It's noticeable. And I think all of us in the classroom are really doing our part too, to make sure we enforce that. So even if it's at the end of the period, you don't have your phone out because you're not supposed to. So just you maintain the sanctity of the classroom from bell to bell. And unless there's a reason to have it out, I'm telling the kids, like, they may pull it out because it's a little bit, early, and they're like, oh, we're wrapping up a production. I'm like, nope, put it away. So I think our staff has done a great job of enforcing it. And the kids are fine. Like, nobody's giving me any grief of like, okay, put it away. Right. No big deal.
Yeah, no, some of the reports you get from kids is it's annoying to start with, and they feel this burning desire to check their phone because
Yeah.
they've been checking their phone all summer long. But they really have provided feedback. You know what? We are communicating more. We're socializing more.
Mhm.
And it has really helped the mental health. It has reduced the drama in terms of significant discipline incidents in
Yeah.
school. They seem to be down because kids aren't, I'll use, for lack of better phrasing, nobody's talking smack via text message and social media and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That stuff's not happening when they're not using their phone. So it kind of brings the temperature down a little bit.
Good.
So that has been a good change. That's been a good start.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the school board meeting a little bit. So that's why we usually do these the Monday after. A couple items on the agenda popped up here a little bit. The movie lots. This is always, if you haven't listened to a board meeting, you're like, what are you talking about movie lots? Did we buy the 309 cinema? What's going on? So we have something called movie lots, of which we just did an agreement of sale for. Talk to us about what that is and what's that mean for us.
Yeah, so movie lots, you and I think, have discussed this history before, Bob. And we did pre-gaming when you and I were trying to set up for this meeting here.
We
We
need
talked
some
about,
chat stuff.
yeah, we need some chat stuff. We need to engage the chat for people who
Get
are
our
watching
chat
us
in.
live. And so we'll throw this out there because we're talking movie lots. What
There
is
you
a
go.
really good movie you've seen recently or something you look forward to seeing? I'm looking forward to the second Gladiator movie. That comes out in October. I was
I
a
didn't
big
even know there
fan of.
was a second one. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Denzel's in it. And yeah.
All right,
I'm
now I'm looking
excited.
forward to that as well.
All right. So you and I are going to go see Gladiator 2 together, Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
So anyway, movie lots were a thing long ago or yesteryear. And they were raffled off, given as prizes, those types of things for coming to the movie theater. And we acquired roughly 56 acres in this plot of movie lots. And we own a large percentage over there at like Orvilla and Welsh. There's some land back in there. We own a big portion of it. And it was not, it's zoned for a school. We're not building another school. And right there in the middle of things, tucked away back behind Ralph's Corner, might not be the best location for a school anyway. So it's somewhat close to Penfield Middle School, in between like Penfield and Oak Park, I guess.
Yeah.
So we looked to actually put them up for sale. And Mr. Scrocky presented, he and I kind of co-presented in March at a finance meeting. And we were really working on getting proposals from developers. And we had a number of offers. We had 6 offers from 4 different developers. And ultimately on Thursday night, we agreed to an agreement of sale with Pulte. They are the developer who is doing the Dell Web development right across there from Penfield. Just seemed to be the right balance of, and it wasn't all about money, believe it or not. In real estate, it often is. We chose the offer that we thought was the best for the school district. So the number of homes combined with the timeline, when the money would be received, and then, of course, the actual monetary value is important too. So there were a number of contributing factors, considered all 6 offers very seriously, and ultimately we settled upon, after some negotiation, this offer that was discussed the other night and on the front page of the paper on Saturday. There you go, Bob. Look at that. You are all over this stuff today.
You
You're
would have thought I
prepared.
planned this ahead of time. Sure, yeah, I was prepared. I'm not digging it up as we talk about it.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. So
I
I'll
was
just keep
hoping
talking.
it was on here. Some of this, I thought the street names in here were all president names, I think. Because these are all paper streets. If you go to the tax records and look, these are all paper streets, meaning if you look here, it looks like there are roads and whatnot. There are not roads. It's just a piece of property, but this is what the roads would have been had it ever been developed. So if you go to the tax records, you can see that. I think they're presidential names like Franklin and Pierce and things like that. I think those are all the names. I was hoping it was on here. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like behind Plains Mennonite Church. If you think about that corner there at Welsh and Orvilla, behind that, and that it's a pretty big piece of property.
It is. Yeah. So it's sold for just over $15 million. And as is well documented, the school district is embarking upon, we are well underway in a North Penn High School renovation that's estimated somewhere around $260 million. And we also have capital projects across the district that we've discussed at the F&O meetings that are total about $190 million. So while there was a budgetary surplus and a positive variance last year, the 23-24 school year, and while this movie lots transaction is absolutely beneficial to position us well to borrow, moving in our Moody's rating, all those things, when you borrow money to do these types of projects, it is nowhere near enough to do the things that need to be done. So it is just about, responsible financial planning for long into the future. Think big picture, well beyond North Penn High School. Think air conditioning, right? Everybody always wants to talk about air conditioning in the middle schools, those renovations. Think about modular construction. Think about the 3 elementary schools that were new in the 90s that are now 30 years old that need renovations. And we have other schools like Oak Park and Gwen Nor that need renovations as well. So long term, we're not talking next 2 years, 4 years. We're talking 10, 20 years of projects that we're trying to long range planning and not just thinking about the here and now.
Great. And talking about projects, as always, the ever first and foremost project right now on the table, the high school renovation. Where are we at with that?
Yeah, that's really starting to come together, Bob. Really starting to come together. We're numbering and naming rooms. We are the floor plan is there. We're meeting with department chairs and deciding what math classrooms, English classrooms, social studies, science labs, all those things are really. We're starting to talk about types of flooring, cabinetry, all those items that go along with the planning. But we're really looking to go out to bid sometime at the new year for phase 1. And phase 1 will be K-Pod and the pool. Those are the 2 primary things that will go first. And most people might say, wait, those are the newest things. Why would we do that first?
Yeah.
Well, it allows us to get started first because they are actually the simplest renovations and they don't require any land development. And land development is an arduous process with the planning commission and the zonings. You really have to, when you're disrupting land, the permitting process takes quite some time with the conservation district, all those things. So if we're going to stay inside in a space that is already ADA accessible, you're not making doors bigger. You're not dramatically shifting certain facilities and systems. So those 2 things will happen first. Then the addition connecting A pod to H pod would be next. And that's the new space that would be utilized as swing space.
So in the chat here, Jennifer, she's hoping some reorganization helps us with wayfinding and the numbering that makes sense.
Yeah. So like D pod is everybody. And I love the first week of school when you have the new students at the high school. I love to just stand in the auditorium lobby and you can just see the look on the kids' faces like, oh, I'm so lost. And I'll just say, can I help you? And they'll say no, but you can tell they need help. I'll be like, come here. And they'll be like, where's D pod? I'm like, oh, well, that's because D pod doesn't exist. It's a hallway.
Yeah. D pod's the odd one to find. Everything else is pretty straightforward. So you're an E, you're an E, you're an E. And all of a sudden you're in D and then you're an E and then you're an E. Yeah. So yes, Jennifer knows that too. One hallway.
Well, there will be no D pod. Yes. So that's one of the things that
I'm waiting for outrage. I'm going to wait for some outrage over no D pod.
I said to Dr. Nicholson, who's kind of the administrative lead on like that kind of thing, not necessarily the construction, but like the logistics of all those matters. And with the new wing, I said, I think it's time for iPod. Like we have to have iPod, right? But the point is, like kids these days, they don't even know what an iPod is. Yeah, no, isn't that crazy?
There's really not iPods anymore.
Yeah, there's no iPod, so it's not even funny, Bob.
No, you're getting analog like me. That's an old digital thing. We got to come up with a term that's old digital. So folks are asking about like the scope here. Melissa just asked about what's the scope for K-Pod? And oops, that's still Jennifer.
Wrong one.
Sorry about that.
Here we go. We got Melissa.
There we go. For the pool and K-Pod. And real quick, side note, I had my 35th reunion this weekend. So I was talking to some of our classmates. And I'm old. Sorry. 35 years is a long time. So we were talking about like K-Pod, that's brand new. And I'm like, well, it's 25 years old. Yeah. And I go, and it doesn't look terrible from far away when you're driving down Valley Forge. But once you come up and you see the work that needs to be done on even the 1999 edition. But let's talk about scope of K-Pod in the pool.
Yeah. So the best way, the question was, is there somewhere where we can see what the scope is? The best way to do that, honestly, is to attend F&O meetings. So our facilities and operations meetings. Let me pull up my calendar here, Bob. The next one is next week.
Should be Monday.
It is Monday night at 7:00. And starting actually this Monday, the construction management firm, formerly known as Dewey Engineering, is now CHA, I believe, because they were acquired. Jamie Lynch is kind of the lead on the project for us. Jamie's going to come every month and give updates and talk about these things.
Excellent.
So the F&O meetings, that's the best place. But if you go to board docs, if you go to mpen.org and go into school board and then look in board docs for meeting agendas and minutes, all the documents have been pasted there. But Bob, it's my understanding that you and Ms. Liberoski are actually working on a website.
We are.
Yeah, for renovation updates.
Correct.
So it'll be one-stop shopping. Think like referendum webpage back when we were working through that, which feels like a lifetime ago already. But this is going to be one-stop shopping for the whole projects. We're
Updates, where we've been, what's coming up, what to look forward to, future meeting dates, all of that. So you can stay informed, stay up to date, and kind of see the progress we're at. Right now, it's a lot of paperwork, right? We're trying to figure out things before we go to bid. Yeah, so it'll be right on the main page. You'll be able to link right to it. So it'll be as informative, I think, as the other site was.
I think it'll be great. So looking forward to it. But we are still on schedule, hopefully, to begin those renovations in the summer. We've been saying for a couple years now, summer 2025, and it does look like we are still on pace. There's been a lot of work, but we are on pace to hopefully start, renovating. What's the word I'm looking for when you start to demoing certain parts? Right when school lets
demo
out.
day, right? And you watch all the home shows. It's demo day in some areas. Well, and to the point of demo day, one of the things we're working on too is the phasing components, and that's why we talked about why K-Pod is first and why the pool is first. But we're also looking at the phasing across the rest of the building as we do the other part. And that's just something as we continue to talk about. And Jamie from our construction management company, he says this line all the time, sometimes you got a little bit of rain so you can see the rainbow, right? But there will be us moving things around in the course of the renovation over the next couple of years as we move kids from one section to another as it gets renovated. So it's one of the things we're working on internally for all our groups to see what that means and how it affects different classes and then events throughout the school year as well. Because things are going to be slightly different over the next couple of years until we lock in and get everything done.
100% right, Bob. I mean, think of the year that there was a renovation of Crawford Stadium, right? We had a football team without a football field, and we had track and field without a track or field. And we made it work for a year, right? So I said to someone in a meeting recently, like, there will be times where you have a science lab class without a science lab, and we're going to have to figure that out. We're going to have to partition areas of the building where we can make a lab. We might have to do some things digitally to try to provide as best of an experience as we can. So there definitely will be rain before rainbows, but every program, academic program, extracurricular program will suffer for a time while we work to get the facilities that we ultimately want and need. It's definitely, it's going to be a painful process. There's no doubt it's going to be a construction zone for over 5 years. But it's about us trying to limit the disruption, and having that addition in the back to leverage as a swing space will hopefully help. Yeah,
I think that's huge. That's huge for us. And then we get to have the space when we're done because we do need it. So that's great. Quick question from Aaron. I don't want to go too deep into it because you know me in history. I'll go deep into the history.
Bob will go deep. He will put videos up of old board meetings. He sends me clips about all these things. Go ahead, Bob.
So Aaron was asking about what happened with the second high schools, because people still ask that question. And even I did a tour for the class of 74 2 weeks ago. They had their reunion, their 50th reunion. They were the first class of 71, 72, 73 of being or 74. They would have 72, 71, 72 through 74 in this building. And they were talking about what about a second high school? And the reality is this community's talked about that since the beginning of the school district, right? We have our Knapp High School project that would have opened in 76 after we opened the high school here. And then in the mid 90s, we did do, we had planned on building a second high school out on Keenest Road. The community had a big discussion about that. And then there was no referendum required at the time. But essentially the referendum was through school board elections. So we had one board that had voted for a second high school, and then the community discussed, and that was the big topic in that school board election. And then another board came in and said, no, we're going to expand North Penn High School and do K-Pod in lieu of the second high school. And that was the decision that was made there in the mid 90s. And that's why we have K-Pod and the addition of the cafeteria that was opened up in 98 and then K-Pod in 99. So it wasn't a referendum where there was a vote to not have a second high school. It was a decision just by the school board to make a change in direction of what we were doing. So we had not, we had paper plans for a second high school. We had purchased the property on Keenest Road, and then we decided we weren't going to do that, sold the property, and we built K-Pod. And that's a quick synopsis of what happened there in the mid 90s. So that question keeps coming up about second high school, and we'll keep saying, pretty sure, Todd, in your time here and my time here, we're not going to see a second high school. I don't think I'm going to see a second high school in my lifetime in the North Penn School District. I would ask you where it goes. That would be the question, first of all.
The other thing that we've discussed at length, and I won't bore with all the details, but the cost is just, we really, really struggled to find a location to move transportation.
Just transportation.
Just for a transportation, to find enough acreage that is at a reasonable price, requiring a reasonable amount of renovation to accommodate a transportation depot. And even that, Bob, we're talking $10 million over our budget, and we just couldn't do it. So yeah, it's not. And by the way, if you split into two high schools, you would still need to fix the old one.
You still have to fix this one.
It still needs to be renovated, and it's still, you're still talking $200 million.
Yeah. Not to reflect back, but if we had built a second high school in the mid 90s, we'd be probably renovating two high schools right now, right? Think of it that way too.
That's true. That's true.
So, all right, let's talk about some more school board business. I like to bring up, usually things that come forward on Audience of Citizens. I know at the meeting we had a first read, and I think sometimes folks, we're in school board meetings all the time, but the process of policy changes for the school district, we did a first read, the first public read at a full board meeting for our discrimination policy. Just want to talk about what that is, why there's an update, and talk about how policy changes in a school district typically.
Yeah. So great question. And I would say that anyone who is interested in the real explanation would need to listen to Mr. Summers' explanation in the August policy meeting or at the school board meeting. He is the lawyer. He's the solicitor for the school district, and he gives the true legal reason in a more formal manner. But my explanation, Bob, as an educator and as a school district superintendent, is we have a regular cycle. When I became assistant superintendent, there was a desire to start to review all of the policies, which had not been done, I'm going to say 20 or 30 years, like a full review. Some of our policies were from the 80s and hadn't been reviewed. So we started top to bottom, and we did every little change, every policy along the way. So now we're in a constant cycle. We're going to keep it going. We're just going to keep looking at policies. I think it's best practice that we're talking about long range things here, Bob. We're talking about financial planning. We're talking about facilities. Now we're talking about policies. So we're in this cycle. So sometimes policy changes are simply us reviewing policies and saying, that doesn't work for us anymore. That's not how we conduct ourselves, or that's not the same in 2024 as it was in 1992. So the policy doesn't really read true to the way we operate. So there are other times where there are changes to the law that we adjust our policies in accordance with the law. And that's what was being discussed the other night. So Title IX, and you don't have to search very hard. You could look summer 2024 Title IX changes and the Department of Education and some of the changes to the policy. It had to do with timelines and process and the complaint process. But there's also discussion about that gender identity is included now in the policy as one of the protected classes. So that federal law changed. And so we changed our policy to align with the federal law. That discussion took place in August. And then it came for a first read on Thursday night, which means we're posting the policy. This is the draft of the policy. There's now a month for discussion and conversation. But the challenge with this policy, in many cases, the law changes, we change our policy, it's open shut. Well, now this change is being litigated across the country. And so there has been guidance from the Department of Ed saying you need to follow this guidance effective August 1st. And then there are also schools that are hung up in that litigation and part of an injunction that a judge in Kansas ruled on. And so some North Penn schools are in that injunction now. They're listed.
Yeah.
So we have to follow the old law. So there's two different laws and it's in limbo. And some people are saying, why don't you just don't do anything? Wait to see how it plays itself out. Well, there are lawsuits about that too.
Yeah.
There are
non-compliance for these schools and
yes.
Injunctions for these schools. So you'd have to comply with all of it.
Yes. So there are school districts that are being sued because they said, okay, we're just going to wait. Well, then there are lawsuits about that too.
Sure.
So we are doing what we've been told by the federal government and the state government and following what are now active laws. So that's really the discussion right now. I believe there's every intention to continue to just follow the law. And I said the other night, and we said in the meeting, at the policy meeting, if you go back and watch that the experience for our students, I don't anticipate changing. I believe we've been following this guidance all along. Some of the things that people are fearful of are really not the experiences of our students. So we support our kids, we support our families. If anyone has a concern about their child's experience, they should contact their building principal. But I don't think you hear when you're reading articles about end user experience, no matter what you're talking about. I don't think the experience of our students will change. So we will continue to follow those cases very closely and wait for that guidance from the Department of Education. But in the meantime, just trying to adjust our policy so that it is in accordance with the federal law.
Awesome. So we'll throw it out to our chat here. So I didn't see any movies or even shows people are looking forward to. You know, there's the new Penguin on HBO Max. So
how is that?
Let's have a little fun chat. No, I did. I think I premiered this weekend. I just remembered it was there, and I'm like, I got to see it. I'm stuck in like half. See, September just stopped all my watching, right? I'm like halfway through a bunch of different series and whatnot, but I'm eager to get started on the Penguin. I just can't commit yet. I'm not committing to it yet, but I will watch it. So,
Bob, I am currently watching, trying to catch up on. I have two very, very different TV series that I'm watching. The one is from 90s, early 2000s, The Wire on HBO. Yep. That is definitely not family friendly. And is type of thing. I get up super early. So I'll get up in the morning early on a weekend, have a cup of coffee, take the dogs out and sit and try to catch an episode. And the moment one of my kids comes downstairs, it's off, right? It's just the language isn't appropriate. It's violence. And it's
like rewatching Sopranos or something like that, right? Yeah.
It's exactly right.
Sit with your kids and watch that one.
Yeah. So I just finished season 3 actually yesterday. I've been watching it for a few months. There are 6 seasons. So I'm making my way. And then what about you? You watching anything?
So I'm trying to think about, honestly, I'm so discombobulated on it. I've been watching like the Lord of the Rings prequel, which is like some chat. You can tell me what the name of it. Anyway, it's the prequel, something about rings. That's on Prime. Just finished up like the Serpent Queen. Good stuff. It's always medieval queen and king stuff we love watching. I honestly haven't had North Penn television. And this is how I'm going to transition to this. Homecoming on Friday night.
Good transition. Yeah, Homecoming was great. They sold something like 1,300 tickets to the dance.
It's crazy.
It's the first time they've had a formal homecoming dance that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's great.
We started doing a dance after the game, but the game's not over till like 9:30, and then the dance would end at say 10:30 or 11. So it was really a lot of work for just a little bit of time.
Yep.
So I guess the senior class this year said, you know what? We're going to put on a real homecoming dance on Saturday night. And biggest dance, some of the clips that were floating around on social media were incredible. Yeah. What a crowd. And the kids looked like they were really having fun. So that was great. The game was great. Cheerleaders, the band, homecoming king and queen that Bob already has pulled up. Look at
brother and sister.
They were brother and sister?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So what was crazy when I was typing, I get the little secret thing right before the game, so I know who it is. So we get it on camera, and I'm typing in the graphics that nobody can see, so we have it ready to go. And I typed in Demi's name, Demi Webb Dennis, and I go to do Dylan's, and I'm like, I did the same name again. I typed the same name. Went back and checked the Queen. I'm like, wait, I didn't even know. I didn't realize it.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
When you're down on the field, you can't necessarily like make out
hear that. Yeah, know what's going on. Yeah.
So I did not gather that they were brother and sister. That's incredible.
Crazy. Yeah. So congratulations to the Webb Dennis family. Good job.
That's a really special night for that family. That's great.
Yeah.
So all in all, it was a great week. Lots of celebrations, and excited to have a beautiful night on Friday night and a night's win at the end.
All right. Well, Dr. Bauer, it's been a little over a half hour here. We've been chatting it up with the chat, giving updates from the last school board meeting, start of the school year. Anything else for the community out there?
On Saturday night, we have the North Penn Alumni Athletic Association induction, which is an annual event, and they add folks to kind of the Wall of Fame down G-Pod. You look like you're up to something, Bob. Here comes another graphic. So that's Saturday night. I am actually trying to work out my schedule to be there. My wife is going away for the weekend, and of course we have, basketball tryouts, lacrosse practice, all these things. Oh, look at that. All right, who do we have here?
Go ahead. So Tim McDermott, I don't know what year he graduated from North Penn High School, but he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame as the Lifetime Achievement nominee or recipient. He is the president of the Philadelphia Union, so he's going to be here on Saturday. And as always with the Lifetime Achievement person, we bring them in to talk to kids, and he'll be here with Nathan Harriel here from the Philadelphia Union. He's bringing a player with him to talk to the students about his work, his job, and his time at North Penn. So he'll have an assembly late in the day on Friday for our kids here, and then Saturday night the North Penn Athletic Alumni Association will be inducting a new class of athletes into the Hall of Fame. No teams this time, all individuals, no teams.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So I hope to be there. If I'm not, I'll be there in spirit, but I believe I can pull it off to get there for a time. Otherwise, there are actually no board meetings this week.
I don't have any night events this week.
Good for you, Bob. I do have interviews. So this is well documented that Mr. Tom Schneider, Director of Facilities and Operations, is retiring in the spring, actually beginning of March. And so we're deep into those interviews right now. Great. And the final round of those interviews are tomorrow, which is probably going to last until roughly 6:30. Gotcha. So I'll be a part of those interviews, but that's the only evening event aside from the weekend that I have.
There you go. Yeah, I forgot. Like I said, I don't have any nights Saturday, but that's all right. It's all good. All right, Dr. Bauer, hope you have a rest of your glorious Monday morning and this final week of September. As we start next week, we're going to be in it up into October. September 30th for our facilities meeting and our policy and safe schools for those that want to watch that. But otherwise, yeah, October starts next week.
Yeah, you got it. It always flies, but we're in it now. The routine is kind of, here we go. It no longer feels new, but all in all, it's a great start to the year, Bob. Thanks for all your efforts, and we'll see everybody soon.
Take care, everybody.